Right, so it's 8 o'clock. And I wanted to say this morning a little bit about the Buddha, because I keep referring to the Buddha, and not everybody knows who the Buddha is. In fact, none of us do really, because he's quite a mysterious figure. But he was a human being. He's not a god in any way. He was a man. He was in the legendary stories anyway, he was a prince, or at least somebody from a good family. And he had everything he could possibly want. And he still felt dissatisfied and just at cross purposes with the world. He still was unhappy. So it's not just, it's not just us that feel life isn't quite right, quite good enough. The Buddha certainly felt that. And he saw that there was sickness and death and suffering and old age and all these things. And he wanted to find out why. Why is it like this? Why is life sometimes so hard? So he went off, and it took him 8 years of very hard work and practice to find out. And at first he did a lot of meditation. That wasn't quite enough. He did a lot of asceticism, starved himself nearly to death. That didn't do it. And then he remembered one day that when he was a young boy, he was sitting under a tree, under a rose apple tree, watching his father adjudicating a ploughing contest. And everything was just perfect at that moment. He noticed that he just felt so contented and happy. And his mind went back to that time, and he realized that all he had to do was to sit down and try and recreate that kind of state, which he did. He let everything go. He just let all his cares, all his thoughts, all his hang-ups and views and opinions, just let them go. And he sat through the night doing that, and by the next morning he was enlightened. So that's what we're trying to do. And this practice that we're doing this morning of the mindfulness of breathing is really it's what the Buddha taught about just noticing the breath, noticing the sensations in the body, and just allowing our minds to settle. So it took the Buddha 8 years, but it could well take us longer. Could take us all of this life, or maybe even, if we believe it, into our next life and the one after that. But on the way, if we can create mindfulness, we create better conditions for ourselves. We create a sense of being that is not pulled hither and thither by all the events in the world and by all the stuff going on in our own minds. If we can allow our thoughts to settle, we're not pulled around by them so much. We're not blown around by all this, well, it's called prapancha in Buddhism, all this chattering in our mind that is constantly commentating and criticizing and craving after things and not wanting other things and being upset and all that. You know what I'm talking about. So this is an important meditation, and it just helps us to not do that, to not get caught up in the mind. And the mind will still carry on doing what it does, but we don't have to be caught up in it. We don't have to believe the mind. We don't have to follow it. It's not who we are. Who we are is that beautiful gap between thoughts, that silence and peacefulness between thoughts. And we don't, thinking's fine if it's directed thinking, but this chattering is of no use whatsoever. So what we're trying to cultivate is this silence between the thoughts. So when you're doing this meditation and you are distracted by a thought, don't get cross. Just notice that you've been distracted. When you come back, just notice that there is this gap, and there's no thought in this gap, but you know exactly what's happening. You're completely there. In fact, you're more there than at any other time in your life. So we're going to practice that. Okay. So good morning to Michelle and Beth and Nicola. Good to see you too. Got a good crowd this morning. And Chris, good morning, Chris. So we'll get into the meditation, and I'll calm down because I do get a bit excited, and we'll settle down into some meditation. So we can start by just knowing that we're here now, just seeing that this is the only place we can be, actually, here in this moment. There is no solid thing in the past, there's no solid thing in the future. There is just this moment, this instant of experience. So just noticing being here in your experience right now. And what's that feel like? How are you this morning? Just taking stock for a moment. Does it feel okay to be here this morning? Does it feel comfortable in your body and your mind? Or maybe not so comfortable. Or maybe you don't really know. So just however you are this morning, just beginning by accepting that as it is. There's nothing wrong with it, even if it feels a bit crappy. It's all right. This is where we're starting from. So just having a sense of kindness to ourselves at this starting point, however we are. And noticing contact with the seat or the bed or the floor or the cushion, whatever you're sitting or lying on. Noticing the contact between that and your body. And there's quite a lot of sensations in that contact. So can you tune into them? Can you notice what it feels like in the body to sit on something or lie on something? The kind of constant tingling, coming and going. Nothing you can pin down, really. And noticing the weight of your body and the pull of gravity, pulling you into the chair or the bed or the cushion or the floor. And just allowing that to happen, just giving up, letting go of trying to hold your body in any way. Just staying upright if you're sitting, and relaxed and alert, but not holding on to anything. And bringing attention to the breath. Wherever the most obvious place to notice the breath is. Just noticing the quality of the breath. Just how it is for you at the moment. I've got a slight cold, so my breath is a little, feels a little bit of resistance there, but it's okay. So is your breath free or slightly resisted? Does it feel smooth or silky or a little bit rough? Whatever it is, it's okay. We're not judging the breath. Bringing your attention down to the upper body and noticing the action, the movement of the breath in the chest and the sides of the body and the back of the body, the upper back. All of those areas moving with the breath, expanding on the out breath, contracting as we breathe out. So in this meditation, in the first two stages, we're going to notice the breath particularly coming in and going out. So in the first stage, we're going to notice the out breath. And we're going to follow the out breath right from the beginning to the end. And this following of the out breath is a very relaxing thing to do. As we breathe out and we know that we're breathing out, our body just automatically has a tendency to relax. So just making the most of that when we start, allowing the body to relax on each out breath. So this is the mindfulness of breathing. And in this first stage, we're following, as I said, the whole of the out breath from the beginning to the end, from a full lungs right to our lungs being relatively empty, not making any special effort to breathe, just following the breath as it is, and just following the whole of the out breath. And as we're doing that, just noticing that on each out breath, we can just relax a little bit more. We can let go a little bit more on each out breath. Not worrying too much about the in-breath, just following each out-breath. Not worrying if you get distracted. Just coming back and just noticing that precious moment of awareness when you know you're there, yet there are no thoughts. It's the space in between the thoughts. And then beginning to follow the out-breath again. almost as if you're surfing down each out-breath. Just letting go as you breathe out. Just following the whole length of the out-breath, allowing yourself to be pulled into relaxation. We can stop following the out-breath now and just check in our posture and making sure we're comfortable, adjusting if we aren't. And then when you're ready, beginning to follow each in-breath, beginning right at the beginning of each in-breath and following it right to the end. And you might notice with the in-breath that this brings energy into the body, brings energy and alertness into the being, and helps us to concentrate. So following each in-breath right from the beginning to the end. Not making any special effort, just allowing yourself to be lifted up the whole of the in-breath, rising up the whole of the in-breath from beginning to end. And when you get pulled away by thoughts, it's not a problem. It's just what happens with all of us. So just coming back and noticing that you've been, just valuing that moment that you come back, noticing that you've been away. Just celebrating, really, and coming back to following the whole of the in-breath. So in the third stage, we're going to move our awareness to the breath in the body, particularly in the upper body, just noticing the movement in the chest, at the front, at the sides, and at the back. The whole of the upper body moving with the breath. Noticing the sensations in the throat and lungs. If you can, just staying open to them as well. And any other sensations of the breath that you can notice. Maybe the rhythm. The rising and falling. And as much as you can, just letting yourself get absorbed by the sensations of the breath. Just really relaxing into them. Relaxing into this steady rhythm. Just coming back if you're distracted, not worrying about it. And just noticing if any really pleasant feelings arise. As we practice meditation, this often happens, really blissful feelings in the body. If you're finding those, just not chasing after them, just allowing them to be. And in the fourth and final stage, moving our attention up to the area where the breath comes into the body, around the nostrils or the upper lip, maybe even the top of the mouth or the throat. And just noticing the passage of the air coming in and out. Very, very subtle feelings. So not particularly thinking about it, just actually experiencing this sense of the breath brushing past the nostrils or the upper lip. Just getting caught up in absorbed in the sensations. Not making any efforts, just experiencing the sensations, the delicate sensations of the breath entering and leaving the body. And just letting go of all effort now, just relaxing into your experience, the whole of your experience. Just observing what that's like. Well, hello to Kelly and Janine, who joined us later on. So thank you for coming this morning. Just a couple of things that I'd like to say. First, we're having a face-to-face meeting for people in York at the Museum Gardens on Saturday morning at 11:15. So there'll be some of the members of the York Buddhist group there. And as many of you that haven't, if you've never been to the group, you're really welcome to come and join us and do a little bit of meditation in the Museum Gardens. We'll be meditating probably from about 11 to 11:30. And then the rest of the time, we're just going to chat, just enjoy being with each other. So you're very welcome to come along. If you can't make it in person, I'm going to try and broadcast it on Facebook and YouTube. But I can't guarantee that will work. And if it's wet, I certainly can't do it. But I will make every attempt to make it work. So if you can't make it in person, maybe you could just tune in about 5 to 11 and just see if you can get a broadcast from there. A live outside broadcast. How good is that? Anyway, so that's Saturday at 11:15 we're meeting. And the other thing is, if you're enjoying these sessions, it would be great if you could make a small donation. It only needs to be a £5. But if you can, if you've got the finances, if you're well enough off, not if you're not. But it does help your Buddhist group to keep going. We don't have any other income. We rely on donations just for everything, really. So it would be very helpful. There's a link on the text with this video. And also you could go onto our website and you'll find a page on there. I can't remember what it's called, but you'll see a tab, supporters or something like that. So thank you for coming. It's been great to see you. And I'll be back at 11 with the morning cuppa meditation. And then I'll be back again tomorrow at 8, of course. But in the meantime, have a really great day. Stay safe and enjoy your day, and see you again soon. Lots of love to you.